Washington Redskins name change debate. Single story project by Brando Wazzy. Today, I'm going to be talking about the name of the Washington Redskins football team and analyzing both arguments for and against changing the name. Some would say the name Washington Redskins is a compliment and it is not meant to be offensive in any way. But Native Americans argue that it is an insult to their cultures and it makes fun of their religious practices. In 1932, George Preston Marshall founded the Boston Braves, which was renamed the Redskins the next year to honor Native Americans, including the coach and 4 players. He moved the team to Washington, D.C. in 1937, and years later, Daniel Snyder became the new owner. Snyder had a press conference on January 2nd, 2020, and said that he was never going to change the name of the Washington Redskins, no matter how much criticism he received. He saw it as a compliment to Native American tribes and thought this was not harmful in any way. In another point of view, the Washington Post published a study, and the results showed those who viewed the Native American mascot are more likely to associate warlike qualities with Native Americans. This is called implicit bias. An example of implicit bias is when people who watch the Washington Redskins think that the Native Americans are more warlike than they actually are because of their team's mascot. This can lead to people judging Native Americans differently without them even realizing they are doing it. But is the name such an offensive thing? Native American names and symbols have long been used by all types of American sports teams at the professional, college, and high school levels, such as the Cleveland Indians, Atlanta Braves, and the Chicago Blackhawks. The goal is that the names are used in a complimentary way, but evidence has shown that using Native Americans as mascots can be offensive and lead to implicit bias. The Santa Fe New Mexican published a viewpoint on the conflict from a Native American leader in which he said, specifically, rather than honoring Native peoples, these caricatures and stereotypes contribute to a disregard for the personhood of Native peoples. Recently, Daniel Snyder relented to the political pressure and finally changed the name to the Washington football team because of, quote, evidence around our country and feedback from our community. James Singer, co-founder of the Utah League of Native American Voters, expressed his response to the name change by saying, I think that's what's changed now. It's just the climate in the United States when talking about race. A lot of organizations that have said never, like the Washington football team, are now starting to think about the implications. The name change of the Washington Redskins is very important because it stops the implicit bias against Native Americans and shows that we have evolved as people to fix the conflict.